Hello, this is I Go Travel with Don Barnett. I made a couple of videos on Custer and the Battle of the Little Bighorn, and the other one was more about Custer and the military side of things. But this video tells more about the Native American Indian side of things. And it also tells about the lone survivor of the battle. His name was Commanche. You've probably heard about Chief Crazy Horse. I'll tell you a few things about him. And about Chief Gall. I'll bet that some of you haven't even heard of Chief Gall, but he was a significant player in this whole story. Custer's last stand near the Little Bighorn River is now a national monument and open to visitors. Let's drive around the area where several short battles occurred before Custer's last stand. It is rolling hill grassland country. There were interpretive signs along the road and grave markers where people had died and were buried. The battle itself was intense but short-lived. The final struggle on the hill above the visitor center today lasted for only about 1 hour. There were several American Indian leaders, such as Red Cloud, who a decade earlier had battled the U.S. Army with significant victories, but now led his people to adjusting to reservation life. Sitting Bull, one of the chiefs, was more of a visionary and spiritual leader who ended up fleeing to safety in Canada after the Battle of the Little Bighorn. He returned to the U.S. eventually with government promises of reconciliation, but was instead paraded around the country and in Europe in the William Cody Wild West show, even though Sitting Bull himself never actually participated in the Battle of the Little Bighorn itself. Eventually, he was shot and killed on his house doorstep on the reservation due to lack of government stewardship and protection. We visited the nice little museum that they have there. In the museum, the bust on the right is Custer, and the Indian chief is Crazy Horse, who disliked white people to his dying day. He refused any photographs to be taken of himself. He would be rolling over in his grave if he saw the modern Black Hills monument of himself with white people making money from tourists. When pro-government agents ran a bayonet through him at his home, his dying words were to refuse to lie on a bed, because a bed was a white man thing. He asked to lie him on the ground the way done by his people. Crazy Horse, a great military and outstanding military strategist, was laid on the ground and died. His body was buried by his family, and his final resting place of this great warrior remains unknown today. You can see the country is dry country. Buffalo roamed the hills in the thousands at one time. The two military strategists for the Lakota were Crazy Horse and another chief by the name of Chief Gall, G-A-L-L, that you might not have heard about. Now, Gall got his name because as a boy, he ate the gallbladder of some animal on a hunt, and therefore they called him Gall. This is a bust of Chief Gall at the museum. And Chief Gall was a renowned physical, athletic fighter with a war club. He was renowned throughout the Indian community. And a few days before the Battle of the Little Bighorn, he decided to go back to his village and say
farewell for a while to his 2 wives and 3 children that were there. But when he got to the village, it was deathly silent. Not a sound, nothing around. He opened up the flap to his tent, and there lie murdered were his 2 wives and 3 children. Gunned down the entire village in a massacre conducted by the U.S. military the day before. In an interview after some weeks or months later, Chief Gall said that that's when he decided to lay down his rifle in the tent, and he picked up his war club. And he knew there would be hand-to-hand fighting ahead. And it was with his war club that he went to war in the Battle of the Little Big Horn.
Unlike Crazy Horse, who refused, Gall made the necessary adjustment to the white man. After the battle, he went with Sitting Bull to the safety of Canada, but negotiated a return to the U.S. With about half of the Lakota people. Once on the U.S. reservation, Chief Gall helped people adapt to an agricultural lifestyle and eventually was appointed a reservation judge. He was able to adjust from a military leader and ferocious warrior to playing a new role in helping his people adapt to the inevitable life on the reservation.
Was there a survivor of the Battle of the Little Big Horn? You say no? You're wrong. There was a survivor, only one, and it was a horse named Commanche. Shortly after the battle, other soldiers from the military came around, and they were horrified at the dead bodies everywhere. Over 200 soldiers perished at the Battle of the Little Big Horn. And then they heard a noise in the thicket, down in a ravine. They went to look, and there was a horse lying down, unable to get up. They were going to shoot it, put it out of its misery. But the commander said, let's see if we can get this horse up on his feet. And I know from my personal experience with cattle and horses that if you can get an animal back up on its feet, it stands a chance. If it can't get on its feet, it will die. And anyway, they worked with this horse, and they recognized the horse. It was one of the sub-commanders in Custer's group, and they got the horse up, and they let him out of the thicket. He was wounded, 7 bullet holes in him, 3 or 4 of them serious wounds. However, they got him back to the nearby fort and nursed him back, and he made a recovery. And the horse's name, they knew it. It was Commanche. And Commanche became quite famous. Everybody wanted to see this sole survivor of the battle. And he was in a lot of parades. And they looked after him, and they found out that he liked to drink beer. And he was quite a beer drinker. He could drink a half of a small pail a day. And he became a beer drinker. It probably hurt him, his health, but he lived for quite a few years, age 30 or so, which is a long time for a horse.
With Johnny Horton's popular song about the horse, I'll tell you a little bit more about Commanche.
Sometimes must fall. Commanche, the brave horse, you gave your all.
This is Commanche, a common picture on the internet. He was a war horse, smart, steady, and reliable in the chaos of battle. After his recovery, he was deeply attached to those assigned to look after him. When his caretaker never returned from an assignment for several days, Commanche showed signs of anxiety, pacing continually until his caretaker returned. When his caretaker did not return because he was killed in the military massacre of the Lakota people at Wounded Knee, Commanche went into a depression that some say contributed to his death.
When Commanche died, he was sent to a taxidermist, and his body was stuffed and put on display eventually at the University of Kansas, where you can see him today. However, in the early times, students got the notion that if you could pick a hair off of his mane or tail, it would bring you good luck during an exam. And very quickly, university personnel realized that pretty soon this horse was not going to have any mane or tail left if they didn't protect him. So they put Commanche in a glass cage for protection. And you can go to the University of Kansas today, as many people do, and they have one more look at the survivor, the sole survivor of the Battle of the Little Big Horn, a horse named Commanche.
Western singer Johnny Horton had a very popular song about Commanche.
Commanche, you fought hard. Commanche, you tried. You were a good soldier, so hold your head up high.
Well, as you can see, my videos are sometimes more than just pretty pictures. They tell a story, and quite a few stories, and there's a lot of enjoyment out of that. And I hope you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button, and that'll tell you when there's more videos that we're bringing and posting on the internet. Until then, keep riding on. So long for now. This is I Go Travel with Don Barnett.
To see more of my videos, just do what it says at the bottom there. Google at Don Barnett 5090. Hit the word playlists in the middle of the page and scroll down. Each playlist contains several travel videos.